What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the No Fun League. Today we are previewing every single game on Sunday of Week 2. Obviously, Bills-Dolphins happened yesterday. A lot of things went into that. You can check out my recap of that from last night on the channel. But let's get into Week 2, starting with Raiders at Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 8.5 points. The over-under is 41.5. And the weather is supposed to be pretty darn decent, at least 66 degrees, which once again is the perfect temperature of all time. But back to football. For the Raiders, if they have some semblance of winning this game or just, looking competitive, they got to run the ball much better than they did last week. They only averaged 3.3 yards per carry as an offense running the football. So that needs to be better. Zamir White, Alexander Madison, whatever other options you might have, Trey Tucker as a receiver on jet sweeps and stuff. Like, you got to run the ball better. Also, you have Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins, probably two of the 25 best defensive linemen in the NFL right now, to be safe. Probably two of the 15 best, if in my opinion. Get pressure on Lamar Jackson, but you got to do it in a smart way where you don't let him get out of the pocket, which, once again, is most likely their defensive game plan anyways. But we didn't really see them, trouble Herbert much and get involved in the run game and stuff like that. And the Ravens are going to run the ball out. They paid Derrick Henry for a reason. They got Justice Hill as well. They're going to run the ball out, but when Lamar does pass, you got to make him uncomfortable. And lastly, do not use your linebackers to cover the tight ends. Robert Spillane is a great linebacker. I think he's one of the best on-ball linebackers that we have in the NFL right now. However, he is not a good coverage backer. You do not want him on Isaiah Likely. You do not want him on Mark Andrews. It will not go well. If Patrick Ricard goes out on a pass pattern, then it's fine to put Spillane on him. But otherwise, use a corner or safety because they will have a much better shot of holding up. For the Ravens, this is a get-right game for you. And I know that you barely lost. It's not like you got blown out in Kansas City. But you lost to the same team twice in semi-heartbreaking fashion each time. So just go blow out an inferior team. Go kick their ass, basically. Get pressure with the D-line. I didn't really see them get a lot of pressure on Mahomes. Now, obviously, the Chiefs' offensive line is really good. But there's a rookie left tackle playing his first game. Should have gotten more pressure on them, in my opinion. And for the Ravens, the mark of a good team is if they can destroy a bad team. So I want to see them blow this team out. My best bet is over 35 receiving yards for Isaiah Likely, and I have the Ravens winning 24-10. So the under hits because defensive matchup, but the Ravens still win in blowout fashion, so to speak. Next up, we got Chargers at Panthers. Probably the most boring game of the week. Chargers are favored by 6, over-under 39, so they don't expect a lot of scoring. And it's going to be 66 degrees, same temperature, pretty good weather. For the Panthers, you got to protect Bryce Young. He went 2 for 10 under pressure last week with an interception. You got to do a better job protecting him. You invested a lot of money in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. You drafted Ike Ekwonu in the first round. You got to be able to protect him. The entire offense as a whole, run game, Bryce, the receivers, offensive line, the entire unit has to get back on track. Dave Canales has had a great track record in the last 2 years of being able to do this with offenses that weren't as good in the past. Can he do it again? Because they did invest a lot of money. Like I said, offensive line, they added Deontay Johnson at receiver, a couple other pieces. Like, they've invested a lot. They're trying as much as they can. So we got to see some improvement this week. And then lastly, defensively, the Chargers are going to want to run the ball down your throat with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell, one of the better linebacker duos in the NFL. Can y'all stop the run? And can the Panthers defense as a whole replace Derrick Brown because he's out due to injury? For the Chargers, matriculate the ball down the field. Ball possession, shorten the game. You should not be tried by the Carolina Panthers. Run the ball with J.K. Dobbins. Run the ball with Gus Edwards. Ladd McConkey played well in his first game in the NFL. Keep giving him the ball. See who else steps up at receiver. And win this game easily without any issues. Also, defensively, rattle Bryce Young. The Saints did that. They got pressure on him early, and then he was playing scared. So you got to do that again. You got Nick Bosa, or you got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack to do that. You got this. My best bet is a J.K. Dobbins anytime touchdown because Harbaugh loves him and ball fed him in the second half last week, and he was phenomenal. So that's what I see happening. And Chargers win 17-10, which is me being nice to the Panthers, but I can also see this being a massive blowout yet again for them. Next up, we got Saints at Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 6, over under 46.5, and it's a dome game. Are the Saints a real team? Are they going to be a real contender? I had them doing really bad in my predictions, in my bold predictions video, in my predicting every game video for the record of each team. I've had them doing bad. Now, they showed me a little bit of something against the Panthers, but they were also playing the Panthers. So they have to prove that they can hold their own against one of the NFC's best teams. On top of that, Cowboys, can you stay consistent and beat up bad teams this year? Or beat up average teams like a really good team is supposed to? Because they didn't do that last year. They've never really done that in the McCarthy era and the Jason Garrett era. They've never really consistently beaten everybody. Even the year, Dak's rookie year when they went 14-2, they lost to the Giants twice. So, what can y'all do? For New Orleans, if they want to win this game, Trevor Penning and Talisa Fuaga, your young tackles, are going to have to play the game of their lives against Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence to protect Derek Carr. Derek Carr is going to have to get the ball to Chris Olave and let him make plays along with all the other receivers, but especially Olave. And then Marshawn Lattimore is going to have to lock down CeeDee Lamb to the best of his ability. Those are the three things that need to happen, in my opinion, to get the Saints to win. For Dallas, Tyler Guyton did not have the best first game. Now he's going to be going up against Cam Jordan, who didn't really do much versus Carolina, but also he didn't need to. Alontae Taylor had 3 sacks for the Saints, so he's going to be looking to build on that. He's a young player. So Tyler Guyton, you had an okay first game. Now you were going against the Browns defense. Can you have a better game against a much weaker defensive line? And then lastly, Kalen Carson, young corner. He's going to be going up against Shaheed, Olave. They're going to throw Taysom Hill at him. They're going to try to confuse him. Can he hold his own? Because that is a rather important part to this whole endeavor. My best bet is CeeDee Lamb over 90 yards and Dallas winning 20-17. Next up, one of the games that I'm most excited to watch on the 1 o'clock slate, Bucks at Lions. Lions are 7.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 51.5, and obviously it's a dome in Detroit. Tampa Bay, pass the ball as much as you can. Because Detroit has young corners. Carlton Davis is supposed to play. I don't believe he's been ruled out or anything, but he got banged up towards the end of the Rams game. So test the young corners. Rakestraw, Terrion Arnold. Test them because you have the receivers to do it. Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. Chris Godwin is really good as your wide receiver too. And then you got some good young receivers like Jalen McMillan as well. So test the corners, pass the ball. To do that, you're going to have to protect against Aiden Hutchinson. Tristan Wirfs will lock down his side, but they're going to most likely move Aiden around, put him on the other side with the weaker tackle. So you got to protect him. That's rule number 1 to this entire operation this week. And then, lastly on defense, you got Kalijah Kancey, Yaya Diaby. Then, you obviously have Vita Vea in the middle, monster on the D-line. Can you stop the Detroit run game? Because if you make Jared Goff pass the ball 35 times, you're most likely going to get 2 picks. So, can you stop the run game? For Detroit, once again, they can win this game in a blowout if they really wanted to by just holding the ball, running it again and again and again with Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. If I were them, my game plan would be, in the first half, we're going to let Jared Goff cook. Well, you got Laporta, St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs in the pass game, Jameson Williams. Let them cook. Second half, ball feed David Montgomery. And just run the clock out in the second half, ball possession your way to a win. And then, once again, can they blow this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team out? Because the Bucs won in a blowout against the Commanders. But Detroit is much, 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 much better than them. Because at first, when I first started thinking about this game, taking my notes, I was like, oh, this line seems to be really, really, really big. And then I was like, nope, it's really not. The Detroit Lions are stacked of football. I have the Lions winning 34-10. My best bet for this game is David Montgomery anytime touchdown, because I think my boy's going to cook. Next up, we got Colts at Packers, and this game would have been awesome if Jordan Love was healthy. But the Colts are now favored by 2.5. Over-under is 41, 64 degrees at Lambeau. Indianapolis. Your defense needs to scare Malik Willis right out the gate. And you had some experience with him. You probably watched some tape, at least in the Gus Bradley defense, if not played against him once or twice because he was in the division. So you kind of know what they're going to have to do. Don't fall for the bootlegs. Don't fall for the screens. Just play good, sound defense. Offensively, Jonathan Taylor averaged 3 yards a carry last week against the Texans. That can't happen again, especially after the Packers let Saquon do whatever he wanted to him. So you got to establish the run game early, give Anthony Richardson some help. And for Anthony Richardson, continue to ball out, continue to make insane plays. Try to be a little bit more accurate against the Packers defense that wasn't very great last week. For the Packers, defensively, once again, try to confuse Anthony Richardson. This is basically his rookie season. Get him to make mistakes, get pressure on him, keep him in the pocket. Offensively, you're going to have to run the ball a lot with Josh Jacobs and anybody else you got on the roster. And like I said, the Colts have to stop the screens and the bootlegs and everything. That's what the Packers are going to need to do. They're going to need to get creative with Malik Willis and get him comfortable in the beginning of this game so that they have a shot the next few weeks. My best bet is a Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown because the Colts run game was awful last week, and I have the Colts winning 17-14. Browns at the Jaguars. Jags favored by 3. Over-unders 41.5. And it's 76 degrees and rain is expected. It's going to be muggy. I think they're going to get some remnants of the hurricane that's hitting the Gulf. For the Browns, feed Jerome Ford. Have Deshaun Watson do less as possible because he sucks at football now. Honestly, play Jameis Winston. If I was them, I'm starting Jameis. And defensively, keep doing what you've been doing since Jim Schwartz got there. Frustrate Trevor Lawrence, create mistakes, and you can figure out a way to get an upset win. Jaguars, Tank Bigsby should get the ball at least 15 carries a game for this entire season. He is phenomenal. He got the same amount of carries as ETN last week and did better with those carries. Travis Etienne is a great player. He should be used as your receiving option as a running back. And honestly, put him up as slot receiver, run screens to him. Use him as the versatile weapon he is, but use the pure running back that you have as well. Protect Trevor Lawrence because the Jags offensive line is okay. It's not like a bad unit or anything, but the Browns defensive line can take their lunch money in the first quarter and not look back. And lastly, blitz Deshaun Watson. He was 2 for 10 with an interception when he got blitzed by the Dallas Cowboys. Which, yes, it does sound familiar because that's the same thing that Bryce Young was under pressure. Bryce Young gets labels as a bust and everything, and he's a young player in a shitty situation. Deshaun Watson got $230 million guaranteed and is an awful human being. Got to have equal coverage there. My best bet is a Brian Thomas anytime touchdown because you can get really good odds for it, and I definitely think that they're going to ball feed him after how he played last week. And I think the Jags win by 10. I have the final score being 20-10 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next up, Niners at Vikings. Another interesting game. Because the Vikings beat the Niners last season. It was, I believe, a Monday night game or a Sunday night game. Trent Williams was out, McCaffrey was out, and the Vikings made the Niners look as bad as they have in the Purdy McCaffrey era. Niners are favored by 5. Over-under is 45.5. Dome, so weather doesn't matter. For the Niners, feed Jordan Mason. Keep the gravy train going with him. He was phenomenal. This is also for my fantasy team. Offensively, Vikings corners, you got Shaquille Griffin and Stephon Gilmore. 5 years ago, this would have been an elite duo. Both of them are old and slightly regressing now. So test them. Test the Flores defense more so than Daniel Jones was able to. Kyle Shanahan's the best play caller in the NFL. Get them going. And then defensively for the Niners, you are stacked defensively. Make Sam Darnold see ghosts again. And I hate to say this because I really want Sam Darnold to be good this year, so I'm vindicated for my bold prediction on him. But make him see ghosts. And for the Vikings, quick pass game to the outside of Fred Warner. Keep Nick Bosa as far away from Darnold as possible. Run the ball. And I won't say better because Aaron Jones was elite last week, but run the ball more frequently than you did last week, especially towards the beginning of the game. And then defensively, Brian Flores, figure out how to stop the run and make Purdy throw it 40 times to beat you. Because Brock Purdy can still do it. I'm not saying that he can't throw the football, but don't let the 49ers dominate you like they did the Jets. Jordan Mason anytime touchdown is the best bet in this game, in my opinion. I got the Niners winning 31-21. So the over hits. Next up, Seahawks at Patriots. Seahawks favored by 3.5 points. Over-unders 38.5. Once again, Northeast has good weather this week, 63 degrees. For the Seahawks, stop the run game defensively. Make Jacoby Brissett beat you to win this football game. Don't let Ramondre Stevenson cook ya. Protect Geno Smith from the Patriots pass rush. Keon White was great. Patriots as a whole played elite defensively. So protect Geno Smith and adjust the pass game a little bit to help make the quick game work a little bit more, get the ball out of his hands. And then feed Kenneth Walker the ball because he is a top 10 running back easily, and he should get the ball 20 times in this game at least. For the Patriots, Keon White, line him up on the right side. Do not make him go up against Charles Cross. Make him go up against George Fant, who's on his fifth different team. Confuse Geno Smith defensively, which I know that they'll do anyways. And then run the ball well, because you got Ramondre Stevenson, you got a couple other good running backs. Run the ball well. Side note, Sam Darnold went into MetLife Stadium, previous House of Horrors, conquered it a little bit last week. Geno Smith must have had some awful experiences against Bill Belichick in New England. So you got to imagine that he's thinking about that a little bit. My best bet is a Kenneth Walker anytime touchdown, and I have the Seahawks winning 17-13. Next up, Jets at Titans. Jets -4. Over-under is 41. 66 degrees. Once again, good weather. For the Jets, the defense has to bounce back. I want at least 2 turnovers forced in this game against Will Levis because he was giving the ball away like Oprah giving away gifts last week. Protect Aaron Rodgers. Titans don't have an elite defensive line or anything, but Justin Simmons is Justin Simmons. Third best defensive tackle in the NFL after Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence. So protect him. Protect Aaron. Do not let him get hurt. He's still figuring out his way. And then someone else at receiver needs to step up besides Garrett Wilson, because that is the only human that Aaron Rodgers trusted for most of the game, because Lazard had the drop. Lazard ended up catching 2 touchdowns towards the end of the game, but it was kind of too late. You can't run an offense by just giving the ball to one running back and feeding one receiver, even if you have Aaron Rodgers. So some other receiver needs to step up. Mike Williams, Alan Lazard, for more than just a touchdown on a free play. And then for the Titans, protect the fucking football. Will Levis, protect the football. You would have won last week if not for you. Oh no. Where'd the ball go? Protect the football. On top of that, run the ball more. You got Tyjae Spears, you got Tony Pollard, give them the ball. You drafted Spears for a reason, and you paid Pollard for a reason. Give them the ball. And then defensively, you got to challenge Morgan Moses. You got to get pressure on him. Because getting pressure on A-Rod at this point in time will help you. Breece Hall, anytime touchdown, still the best bet. And 27-24, the Jets get their first win of the season. Last 1 o'clock game is the Giants traveling to Landover, Maryland to play the Washington Commanders. Washington's favored by 1.5 points, over under 43. And yet again, we have another 64-degree game. For the Commanders, force Daniel Jones to make mistakes. And once again, it pains me in my soul to say this, but he will give you the ball if you really test him a little bit. So make him make mistakes. He has largely owned the Commanders, or the football team, or the previous name. He has owned them most of his career. He beat them in 2020 to get into the playoffs, or 2022, to get into the playoffs. He has beat them almost every opportunity he has had against them. Also, protect Jaden Daniels, because the Giants' defensive line has heard what's been said about them all week. They're going to want to prove a point, especially against a bad Commanders' offensive line. So protect Jaden Daniels. And then lastly, who steps up at receiver? Because Terry McLaurin didn't play well. None of the receivers played well, really. So who's going to step up at receiver? For the Giants, Daniel Jones, ball feed Malik Neighbors, run the ball with Devin Singletary, and get Wandale the ball in space. Throw a couple deep shots to Hyatt and Darius Slayton as well. Spread the ball around. Give them to your weapons, because they're legitimately good offensive weapons on this team. Defensive line, you got to get pressure. You have to make his life miserable. You got to make Jaden Daniels' life miserable. And then lastly, Deonte Banks. You talked a lot of shit to Terry McLaurin. You backed it up. Let's see you do it again. Best bet is Malik Neighbors anytime touchdown. I think he gets his first touchdown of the season. And I got the Giants winning 24-10. Slightly biased, I will admit it. Slightly biased, but I do think that this roster as a whole is better than the Commanders roster. Next up, Rams traveling to Arizona, playing the Cardinals. Cardinals are somehow favored by 1 point, Over under 48. Weather doesn't matter. It's a dome stadium. For LA, protect Matthew Stafford. New offensive lineman in there. There's been a lot of injuries. It sucks. But protect Stafford. Just let him cook. Cooper Kupp had 21 targets last week. 21. Cardinals defense is not nearly as good as the Lions defense. There's a good chance that Cooper Kupp is the best fantasy receiver again, especially with Puka hurt. So let Stafford cook. Get your run game going. Kyren Williams was okay, but not great in the first game. So get your run game going because the Bills were able to run on the Cardinals. And then also defensively, contain Kyler Murray. You have a young defensive line. Don't let Kyler hold the ball forever. Don't let him do his little midget run. Sack him. Or just collapse the pocket on him repeatedly without letting him escape every time. For the Cardinals, keep feeding James Conner. That worked a lot in the first game. Keep feeding him. He's probably your best offensive player right now outside of Kyler. Let's get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball. Obviously, the comments that Kyler was made were overblown, but let's get Kyler the ball and double Cooper Kupp as soon as he enters the stadium. It should start off with like 2 Cardinal security guys on Cooper Kupp as soon as he walks into the tunnel. As soon as he gets on the field, 2 Cardinals coaches should be following him. And then as soon as the pads are on, ball gets kicked off, 2 Cardinals defensive backs should be on Cooper Kupp on every single snap of this game if they have a hope of winning. James Conner, anytime touchdown is the best bet. You could also go with Cooper Kupp, anytime touchdown, both work. I got the Rams winning 27-17. Next up, we got Steelers traveling to Denver, playing the Broncos. I don't think it's been like officially named who the starter is for Pittsburgh. I personally think it should be Justin Fields because he earned another start. If Russell Wilson plays, it's a revenge game for him. It's a revenge game for Sean Payton. Who knows what the storylines are then? But the Steelers are favored by 2.5, over under 36.5, and it'll be 72 degrees in Denver. For Pittsburgh, keep the offense the way it is. Like I said, start Justin Fields. Run the ball with Najee Harris a lot because he's the new Derrick Henry for Arthur Smith in this offense. And then pass the ball occasionally when you need to. George Pickens played great. You got a couple other really good weapons. And then let TJ Watt cook on defense. Who on the Broncos offensive line can block TJ Watt? Who on the offensive line can drop Alex Highsmith? Who on the offensive line can block Cam Hayward? And can the offensive line together block all 3? I don't think so. For Denver, protect the football. Bo Nix, do not turn it over willy-nilly like you did against the Seahawks last week. Run the ball more. You got McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, the guy that you just drafted, Audric Estime, and one other guy who I'm blanking on. So run the ball a little bit more, and then force Justin Fields to pass the ball. Let's stop the run game defensively. I think the under is the best bet here, 36.5. Bet the under. My prediction is 17-10 Steelers. Next up, we got Bengals at Chiefs in Burrowhead, Arrowhead, whatever you want to call it. Chiefs favored by 5.5. Over-under is 48, and it's going to be 78 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be a beautiful day in Kansas City. For Cincinnati, what team is going to show up? Are we going to see the team in the beginning of the year that sucks, or are we going to see the team that steps up whenever they play Kansas City? Because those are 2 very different outcomes, and I cannot tell you what team is going to show up. Because they've been awful in September throughout the Burrow era and the Zach Taylor era, but they've also been great against the Chiefs. Probably the best team consistently against the Chiefs. So that they got to step up. They got to figure it out. They got to get rid of the cobwebs right now and get it going. Defensive line, Hubbard, Hendrickson. You got to get pressure on Mahomes. Like, you have to get pressure on Mahomes. Because the Ravens weren't able to consistently do it, and he cooked them. They're going to run the ball out. That's probably one of the most complete Kansas City teams ever. So, you got to do that. And then, obviously, Xavier Worthy comments are made about the Cincinnati defense. So, watch out, because he's going to get the ball, because Andy Reid's about to drop some diabolical shit with that man. And then, offensively, feed Zach Moss. He's a good running back. Give him the ball, especially when Burrow and the receivers aren't fully chemistryed up yet. Feed Zach Moss. For Kansas City, Kingsley Suamataia, Javon Taylor. Got to keep protecting Patty Mahomes. You did a decent job last week. You got to do a better job this week. Feed Isaiah Pacheco the ball. I know you have Mahomes. I know you got Kelsey, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. Feed Pacheco the ball as much as you can and then diversify it up. And then Chris Jones, line him up on Trent Brown's ass and just absolutely go to town on him. Best bet is a Pacheco anytime touchdown, and I think the Chiefs win 27-24, so Cincinnati covers. Lastly, Sunday Night Football. We got number 1 overall pick from this year, Caleb Williams, traveling to Houston to play the number 2 overall pick and Rookie of the Year from last year, C.J. Stroud, on Sunday Night Football. It should be a great game. Texans are favored by 6.5 points. Over-under is 45.5. Dome Stadium. Chicago. Get your offense going. We heard so much hype all season, or all off season. You draft Caleb, you add Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift. Let's see all those pieces in action because it looked clunky as hell against Tennessee. Defensively, you played great. You won your team the game on defense and special teams last week. Can you do that against CJ Stroud on a much better offense? Let's see. I'm excited to find out. And then lastly, also defensively for Bears, stop Joe Mixon. Once again, this would suck for me in fantasy if it actually happened, but if they want to win the game, they're going to have to do this. Because the Texans, with the pass game from last year combined with the run game that we saw in week 1 against the Colts, is a elite team. It's an elite offense. For the Texans, can the wide receivers beat Chicago's corners? Tyreek Stevenson, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon. They're a really good cornerback trio. Can your receivers beat them? Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I'll give the edge to the receivers because they also got Stroud throwing them the football. But that's going to be a very big thing. Also, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Joe Mixon played great last time. Let him do it again. And then defensively, DeMeco Ryans, you got to unleash some hell on Caleb Williams. Make this a welcome to the NFL Part 2 moment for him. Let him cook. Best bet for me is a Mixon anytime touchdown. I think the final score is going to be 31-28. Texans win. But Bears offense gets going and we see the potential that they have. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these. Let me know what you guys are thinking gambling-wise, picks-wise for this weekend in the comments. Peace.